Catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.
Whenever it feels like you're in the middle of anything, middle of something, midpoint, just keep going. Yes, nothing will work unless you do. Nothing will work unless you walk. Yes, and unless you also work. Welcome to 20 Tech Side. I live stream on www.africatechradio.com, africatechradio.com every weekday from 9 a.m. West African time till midday. Wherever you're listening from, like, comment, and share. We'll learn a tech word. We dig deep into the ripples of history to find precious jewels of knowledge to launch us into the future, and then we'll share the most important and juiciest tech stories impacting the continent of Africa to keep you informed. You can share your stories with the rest of us on WhatsApp. Just text or send a voice note on 0913-558-1766. Please add +234 if you're texting from outside Nigeria. Smile, guys. Smile. It's a wonderful day, trust me. So, digging deep into the rubbles of history, back down to the year 2008, the 23rd of September would be Google and T-Mobile introducing the T-Mobile G1, also known as the HTC Dream. It was the first Android-based smartphone. The world's first Android-based smartphone. So, just about how many years ago? Since 2008, yes. We're celebrating the world's first Android-based smartphone. By raw sale numbers, today, Android is the world's most popular smartphone platform just by sale numbers, just the raw sale numbers alone. And Google, of course, in charge and behind everything that has to do with Android-based smartphones. In 1954, on the 20th of September, the first Fortran program was executed. Fortran was developed by IBM scientists who were looking for a better way to program the IBM 704 mainframe computer. It quickly became the dominant programming language for scientific and engineering applications and still is used today, especially in the area of high-performance computing. And talking about computing, our word today is connected to computing. When we look a bit into, 21st of September, deep down into 2003, way back to 2003, after 14 years in space, 8 of those as the first man-made object orbiting Jupiter, the unmanned NASA spacecraft Galileo, was sent into the atmosphere of the giant planet Jupiter. NASA decided to end Galileo's mission in this manner in order to avoid any possibility of it colliding with one of Jupiter's moons and potentially contaminating it with bacteria from Earth. And that was a very, very sanitary move of them. And in 1986, on the 22nd of September, the United States District Court for Northern District of California ruled that computer code is protected under copyright law. The ruling stemmed from the case NEC, that's NEC Core versus Intel Core, which was basically a battle over who had the right to produce x86 processors. The ruling, while finding that Intel had copyright protection for the code in their processors, also found that reverse engineering code was also legal, and therefore NEC did not violate Intel's copyright in producing their own x86 processors. This ruling, that code could be copyrighted, changed the landscape for better or maybe for worse, depending on what side you're on, for software and for computer development. Also, the fact that it could be copyrighted, means that reverse engineering was also legal. Yep. And our word for today is analytics. Yes, I told you, it's connected to computing. Analytics. It's these days you hear everyone talking, share with me the analytics, and all of that. Almost everyone now uses no longer analysis but analytics. And analytics is concerned with turning raw data and information into insights and using those insights to make better decisions. And analytics relies on application of statistics, computer programming, and operations research in order to quantify and gain insight to the meaning of data or the information that you see or you receive. It is especially useful in areas, which record a lot of data or a lot of information. And analytics provides us with meaningful information which can be used, actionable information, which ordinarily may be hidden from, us, because there is a lot of data and information to deal with. Yeah, every leader, manager, or just about anyone can make use of analytics today in this data-driven world. And information has long been considered as a great weapon, and analytics is the forge that creates it. Analytics changes everything, not just in the world of business, but also in science, sports, health, everything, just about everything. Anywhere you can find information, a lot of information, you most likely get analytics from it. It helps us see patterns, but the ones that are seen and the ones that are hidden. It helps us understand consumer behavior, team performance, find connections between things happening, activities, diseases, climate change. Yes, it changes how we see the world. We see patterns. We see the ones that do not look like patterns. We see the things that are not patterning. When they say these patterns are not patterning, you're expecting something, a particular result, and it's not giving you that result. You start looking at the data and you start analyzing the analytics to say, oh, what's going to happen with this? In a world of business, organizations would usually apply analytics in order to describe, predict, and then improve the business performance of any company that we're talking about. So web analytics, fraud analysis, risk analysis, adverts and marketing, yes, enterprise decision marketing and management, market optimization, market modeling. These are all places where how we can put analytics to use. And what's making the news, as I speak, is Rwanda's president saying that he'll run for a fourth term in 2024, and he's been president since the year 2000. So it means anyone who is less than 22 or 23, would not have known any other president except, for the current president. And also in Nigeria, based on the elections, the two losing presidential candidates from the main opposition parties have gone to the Supreme Court. That's the most superior court in Nigeria, to challenge the dismissal of their cases against the victory of the sitting president in the election that held in February 2023. So the Election Petition Tribunal ruled a unanimous decision earlier in September 2023 that both candidates from the two main opposition parties, failed to prove that the election was flawed, and they declared that they didn't establish the allegations of overvoting and voter suppression, and there was not enough evidence to support the cases that they brought. And now these guys have gone to the Supreme Court to challenge that decision. Okay, stories rocking the continent. It started in Tunisia, where electricity supplies were cut across the country for about 2 hours on Wednesday. But the reason for the nationwide outage, which is quite rare in the country, was a bit unclear, and resident and state electricity company are still not sure of why they had that outage. Interior Minister Kumal Feki has called for an investigation for the reasons behind the blackouts, but we still are waiting for that report to know what exactly caused the outage. Still talking about electricity, but then in Kenya, where Swedish Kenyan EV startup, electric vehicle startup Rome, which is formerly known as OP Bus, launched the Rome Move, Kenya's first locally manufactured electric bus. And although they would begin official operations in late October, this is a great move. 170 kilowatt battery pack. The shuttle bus can travel 200 kilometers on a single charge, and this extended range ensures uninterrupted service throughout the day, and you can actually serve those in the urban communities. There's a fast plug-in battery charging that ensures that the bus is fully charged in less than 2 hours, and it's in line with the plans that William Ruto, the president of Kenya, just announced in Silicon Valley just a few days ago, or just about a week ago, of how about 90% of renewable energy is what keeps Kenya running. And if they are going to move the transport sector, especially the public transport, from petrol-based to electric-based, sustainable sources, then it'll be a very good move. And for the fact that they're not importing this, but they're, it's something that's being manufactured internally, is also a great move. Now, the operating costs are about 50% lower, and because of the exemption from expensive maintenance and its streamlined construction with fewer moving parts, thereby minimizing downtimes, the combined factors lead to substantial savings, amounting to as much as 35 Kenyan shilling per kilometer that you travel or you journey. And how many people can be? It can accommodate 51 persons. Ergonomic seating. Shout out to my guy Ima Okoro, who would always talk about ergonomics. He studied engineering, so why not? And the aisle, that's the walkway, is they're quite spacious. I'm looking at a picture of the bus now, and I'm like, okay. And there's also a whisper quiet ride, reducing noise pollution in densely populated areas. And safety features too. Collision avoidance systems is included in it. Advanced driver assistance and robust structural integrity are just some of the things, or the cutting edge safety features that are embedded in this particular bus. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, the Communications Authority Director, the Director General, Ezra Chiloba, was suspended, and in the interim, his position has been filled by Christopher Wambua in an acting capacity. So there was an internal memo to all Communication Authority staff, stating that following the meeting of the authority's board on 18 September, Monday, the Director General stands suspended, and Christopher Wambua appointed as Director General in acting capacity until further notice. And this suspension was effective immediately with no timeline given whatsoever. Christopher Wambua, before becoming the acting DG, which he is now, was the Director of Communications and Public Affairs at Communications Authority. This suspension comes after the meeting William Ruto had with Altman, Sam Altman, and he's actually had a long history of suspensions. So before now, he was in other offices, and he also was suspended in the office before and the office before. You're right. And we just hope that he gets away from this, because there are a lot of issues that currently are plaguing the Communications Authority, that everyone needs to pay attention to. Regulatory issues, big regulatory issues, and we just hope that is settled, so that there are no internal wranglings where we're trying to figure out how to get around his suspension and getting other persons and moving Communications Authority forward. That's the most important thing. And then in Zimbabwe, they received a license application from Starlink, and they're currently reviewing that application. And Starlink is already in Mozambique, Nigeria, Kenya, Rwanda, and Zambia. And Zimbabwe is poised to be the sixth country if they approve Starlink's license application. Starlink had issues with their own the regulatory approvals in South Africa, but they're hoping, right, that they get through in Zimbabwe, and then they can actually see that they have a strong foot in the southern African region. While the focus is on remote parts, urban areas with high demand for fixed internet services are also expected to be major clients for Starlink, because clearly they actually are the ones who can afford to actually pay as much as it is. When I saw the cost of getting Starlink, although it's like based on those who have used it, there's some issues with it, but in the long term it's highly reliable, and it's like using internet from a totally different source, not like the other ones that everybody draws from one person and then they just provide those services scatteredly. This is a totally different source that you're drawing from. So if these other guys fail at one point in time, because the main source fails, they will not fail, and if they fail, you can just go back to the other guys. Well, if you've also seen the price, of how much it costs, and you think it's great, message me. Yes. So wrapping up the impacting and the stories I feel are like really, really important on the continent, the ones you should be paying attention to, wrapping up in Nigeria. would be the visit of Wale Adeyemo, the United States of America's Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, who met with tech founders and the media at Vibranium Valley yesterday, the 19th of September 2023. And he didn't make any promises, but he assured everyone who was there that he was going to, look at the barriers, that they had communicated to him and interact or, take those, discussions around the barriers back to the United States and tell them how seriously, they need to actually address, these. One of the major he talked about was the complaint of American financial institutions, blocking or turning away Nigerian founders, right? And this is a major barrier to raising funds from Silicon Valley, because you would need, to like set up something, in the United States to get that funding, and then before you can, spend or use the funding. So that's also, like a very major, that's one of the things he said he was actually going to take a look at. In his words, my view is that American investors, American companies want to be partners in doing that work. We want to make sure that as the United States of America, we're partnering with them, to remove barriers, to make sure that Nigerian investors have the ability to access the US market. It's an issue that I look forward to following up on when I get back to the United States. Now, something that's also, quite important to bring to your notice today is Abasi Enobong, the former co-founder and CEO of Africa genomic startup 54Gene, who announced the launch of his new venture, Syndicate Bio, another genomics company. So this is after a few months in stealth mode, after he, was accused by some employees of misappropriation. And after 54Gene laid off, some set of persons, and 5 at some point, about 100 at some point. In a LinkedIn post, according to him, Syndicate Bio, the new genomics company, will drive genomics and precision medicine initiatives across the world's most diverse regions, starting from Africa. So it's not just something that's focused on a continent, but then it's looking at the world's most diverse regions. And according to him, he's starting Syndicate Bio to empower inclusive advancement in global genomic science. This is what he said. He revealed this, in a LinkedIn post. And that's how we're going to call it quits today on the stories rocking the continent of Africa. The tech stories you should pay attention to, and the tech stories you should be investing your time and effort in, peering deeper to find what exactly is happening.
Thanks for listening. And don't forget to catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.